So I guess I might as well start on this one. First, every Flint Knapper's best friend is the almighty Band-Aid. So I actually put a Band-Aid on before I even start because I always cut myself on the same finger all the time repeatedly.
So what you're learning.
Any times you had to go to the hospital?
None. None.
Stitches?
I'd say the only good one I've had in all my primitive skills stuff is I tried to lop the end of this finger off a couple months ago with an axe.
First off, it's cold.
And it was actually, yeah, the front half of my finger was basically hanging by a little thread of skin there. I looked at it, and my kid was in bed, and I'm like, what if I need to go to a merge for this? I'm like, just through the nail, they're not going to be able to stitch it. Yeah, I'll get the crazy glue out. So I cleaned it right out, crazy glued it, put it back together, and it healed perfectly in a week and a half. I was surprised, I don't even have a scar.
Wow.
So when I saw my doctor for a tetanus shot, when I did go see my doctor a few days later for a tetanus shot, I figured, cut myself with a giant axe, haven't had one in years. He looked at us, oh, you did a really good job, that's exactly what we would have done, so it's a good thing because you got it sooner, it's going to heal better. So, because it was back together in about 2 minutes.
Hey Mike, sorry to bother you. What type of material is that?
That's diddlering with antler and rock. But they just make you a little lazy. You don't have to trim them and fix them up as often. And I think my son was wearing these earlier because they're completely covered. Yes, my 4-year-old likes the Flint Knap, and so you got to find the glasses that he didn't manhandle. All right. So one of our main tools is actually the grindstone. Because if you have a sharp edge when you're flint knapping, it'll basically just crush when you strike it. So anyways, one of the other things to keep in mind when we're flint knapping is you can imagine that there's an imaginary center line, and that's where the center of the mass of your point is. And you can only flake essentially below it. So let's say this is roughly our center line here. So that means that I can take a flake this way going down, or this way going up. So I'd have to flip it again, because once we hit a flake, it actually moves from this face down here. So if you keep that in mind, that's basically your rough line of, if I strike up here, I'm only going to get a short flake, probably going to just crush the side, create a Hertzian cone inside of it, something like that. And also with a square edge, you can't strike a square edge. You want something like this, which is a platform. It's sort of a little bit dish-shaped. So anyways, so I'm going to see if I can pull off what I said I was going to do earlier. So I'll start here, I'll take this here, level this off so as I can take some flakes and remove some of this mass up here. And if you notice too, I'm holding my finger right under the flake, and what I'm doing is I'm actually pinching it a little bit. And what it does is it just sort of helps hold the flake together so you can get a little bit more force into it. I just have to take a couple more little ones here to get back underneath it. Okay, so now you see where my center line is? Okay, you notice when I took those flakes, I raised this edge up, and I also got rid of that flat face. So now when I can flip it over, now this is below the center line. This is a very nice platform. I also have this ridge line here. I should be able to take a flake, if I can find my marker. So if I strike it roughly about here, I should probably take a flake that is roughly, I would say, something like this. That's a guess. I could be off, I could break this thing in two. That's
in which case you're
sort
going
of
for 2
points.
points.
Then in that case, I was going for 2 points. So I bit off a little more than I wanted there, but pretty close.
Wow.
And actually, if you notice with even these, it's very sharp.
Yeah.
So that would be a very useful tool in its own right.
Pretty good for skinning, eh?
Silica, like this is, I believe, about 93 to 95% pure silica. And the rest is just different trace elements. Okay, so now here we go. We have another nice platform right here. So I'll be striking it roughly around where that dot is, and hopefully I'll get rid of this. It might, I don't know if anybody notices, there's a slight dip here, slight bit of concavity. So I'm guessing that I'm probably going to get a little step fraction. My flake's probably going to stop a little short there, but I'm so close to that edge, it's not a big deal. So that's sort of what I'm guessing is going to happen. And hopefully I'm right. There we go. So notching is just an iron nail. But if you notice here with this is just, you know, a hand flaker, where this is the extended handle, what it does is it gives me more leverage. It allows me to put my entire body into it. There's a couple different techniques. Apparently my way is a little bit different. Most people, what they'll do is they'll stick it right into their arm and they'll put all of their upper body weight on it, which is something you obviously can't do with a hand flaker. Now if you notice with this flaker, it's fairly flexible. So what the flaking style that I like to do is I actually put it over my hip bone. And what I'm doing is I'm using my legs and I'm actually putting a lot of bend and a lot of force into it, and then at the last second I just sort of twist the flaker and it releases that force into the stone. So that's just sort of two different ways of using the tool. So once again, all of the platforms and all the preparation are essentially the same as percussion. You're doing the same thing, except you have much more control, and you're pushing and you're just pushing the flakes off. So all the dynamics are the same. You need a good ridge line, you need good convexity, so you're just taking tiny little flakes like that. And if you notice how I have my body here, I have my one hand here in the inside of my leg, the other hand in the inside of this leg. Notice this leg is up in the air, and what that does is allows me to put my body into it and squeeze both my legs into it. I'm also twisting my shoulders. I'm basically trying to find a way to put every muscle in my body into it. Because it does, especially with Onondaga, compared to obsidian, it takes a fair bit of effort, as you just heard by the grunting.